Well, good afternoon, Richard. It's great to see you.
Hello, Lee.
You're looking well?
Okay.
Feeling well?
Take that. Yeah, I'm average.
Okay.
Getting better.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
I'm 86.
Amazing.
Okay.
Still actively involved in the club.
Yes, very much.
And for anyone who wants to check back on the YouTube site or the Facebook site, Richard was the very first interview we had and went through his story. But we're not here about his story today, we're here about the story of some legends of the past. We're going to start, and we've had plenty of those, but we're going to start today with Bill Lewin.
Yes, Bill had an interesting career before he came to the club. He actually played at Northcote initially as a teenager, only got a handful of games there, and left Northcote in the mid-40s, and as best we know, he went to JICA and played on the mats probably for 10 years, and then he came to Preston in 1953-54.
Right.
And he played for 15 years.
How did he get to Preston? Did he just wander in?
No idea. I wish I'd asked him.
Yeah.
But Bill's passed on now.
Yeah.
But anyone who knew him, he wasn't built like an athlete.
Right.
But he was a very powerful man and very good batsman and
a bowler.
And a very handy medium pace bowler, as his statistics will show.
Was he a tall guy?
No, he's probably my height. He was about 180 perhaps.
Yes, yeah.
But he would have been easily 100 to 120 kilo.
Amazing.
In that range.
Yes.
And yet, he had good hands, he fielded in slips, and as the records show, he was the only Preston bowler who's taken 10 wickets in a match twice.
Gee.
Over the period he played with us.
Right. Were you involved in any of those two games?
Yes, I was fortunate. I didn't play in both of the games, but I played in one of them. He actually performed something of an outstanding feat, which has not been matched by anyone else in the club, and that is he took 50 wickets, more than 50, 58 wickets one year and made 550 runs and won the medal, Association medal. And he included in that 58 wickets was one of his hauls of, I think, 12 wickets for that game.
Gee whiz.
Just amazing.
Yes, extraordinary. Prolific batter, won the batting average. Do you know how many times?
Yes, he won the batting average 5 times. He was club champion 5 times. And he won the bowling 4 times. 5 centuries.
Yep.
And about 30 half centuries.
That's some record.
Amazing.
Yes, yeah. Through that period, having him as, I suppose, our trump, was he captain?
He was only captain twice. In the early part, he captained, I think, the initial captaincy was 60-61, and by then he'd been playing 6 or 7 years, and the captaincy had initially gone from Lynn Straw when Bill wasn't there, but later it went across to Riley Millen.
Right.
And Riley captained for some years before he retired, and only then did Bill take on the job.
Yeah.
And then the next year, Cole Miller came across to Preston from Ivanhoe, where he'd been very successful and took on the captaincy and the coaching job.
Yeah.
But Bill was never one to push himself,
Yeah.
and I think he was happier as a player.
Right. Okay. What sort of a bat would you describe him?
He was very hard hitting. I remember one year we were playing Port Melbourne, and he split Freddie Layla from the Port Melbourne coach was bowling leg spin, and Bill hit it so hard back past him. Freddie put his hand out and it split his webbing.
Right.
And he went off retired. But Bill could really give the ball a thump, and he wasn't great perhaps off the back foot, but very powerful off the front foot.
Right. Okay.
And if he hit a ball, it stayed hit.
Yes, yeah. Centuries. Did he make a lot of centuries?
He made 5.
5, yeah.
He seemed, when he had a good year with the ball, his batting would perhaps be down to normal. Like the rest of us would have been happy getting what he'd made anyway. But as the it ebbed and flowed a bit. If he had a good year with the bat, then his bowling tended to come down,
yes.
as we find even with any other all-rounder generally. But I think above all, Bill, I'd rank Bill a lot on a par with Ray Harvey in terms of demeanour on the field. You wouldn't want a better example of a leader and behaviour.
Yes.
Didn't have an enemy in the world. Never heard him say a cross word to anybody.
Yeah. In that 15 years, I suppose the 50s we struggled for success. In the 60s it looked a bit better until we won our first premiership.
Yes.
Did he play in our first premiership?
He did. And I think Ray Harvey was always happy to have him in the team.
Yeah.
Bill would always give you a 100% performance.
Yes.
And we were awfully close right through the 50s. The number of times we finished just outside the 4, bearing in mind that the toss was much more important then than it is now because of uncovered wickets. And we would play on wickets that they won't even look at nowadays. But I think we all thought we just want a game of cricket.
Yes, yeah. Wet wickets, sticky wickets. We
played on wet wickets and sticky wickets. And Preston had one match against Brighton, got caught on a wet wicket. Well, there's 2 cases I remember about wet wickets. One was they weren't much fun to bat on when you were up against a fairly hostile bowler. But on one occasion, Bruce Harper from Brighton got 14 wickets and he got 8 for 5 and bowled us out for 18 on a soft, difficult wicket. The other time was under Ray Harvey. We went through the 62-63 season unbeaten. Got to the grand final, lost the toss to Brighton and lost the game. And a doubtful award, perhaps from Preston's point of view, is that we also did that in 2000, 2001. We're the only club that's done it twice. That won every game during the season and lost the granny. Yes.
64, 65 I think was the first time the subbies had the ridiculous notion of the premiership where you won your semi-final, you beat the first or second side, and then you had to play the same on the other side, the championship, which was pretty tough. So thank heavens they've reverted back.
They did, and we played Oakley, and Oakley had probably the finest batsman who's ever played in subby cricket, in Val Holton.
Okay.
Holton had an average of nearly 60 in innings over the seasons he played.
Gee whiz.
And just a phenomenal player.
Yeah. Going back to Bill, you spoke about how he batted. As a bowler, medium pace, was he...
I'd say medium pace, maybe a touch above. But consistently a good line, and he moved the ball. Particularly outwards. And so when he had really good years, and over his 15 years he averaged 20 wickets a year. Just short of 300 wickets. But a difficult one to handle because I thought the strength of sides in those days, everyone had a really good bowler and there was some strong batting lineups. So that was a great effort.
You mentioned he fielded in the slips. He was obviously good with his hands. And being a big man, he covered...
Well, he was good. He moved well for his size, I thought. And I think he didn't drop too many. He grabbed pretty much what came his way. And
what did Bill do outside of cricket?
He was a bit of an interesting guy, Bill. The club in those days used to have cabarets. held within our own group, and Bill would play the clarinet.
Right.
And
Okay.
he was quite a musician.
True.
So if we had a little bit of an evening, as we did, for instance, when the Seconds won the premiership in 66, 67, we ran our own evening, cabaret.
Right.
The other thing was predominantly taxi driving,
Right.
but he had some other odd jobs from time to
Yeah.
time, but that was generally as a cabbie.
Yeah.
And the most easygoing fellow you'd ever wish to meet.
Yeah.
So I sort of count myself fortunate to have played with him.
Yeah. One of the greats of the club, Bill Lewin.
Yeah, and
Where would you rank him?
Bill would have to be in the top 5 easily. He left the game. He was probably, interestingly with Bill, his performances got better as he got older.
Sure.
In his 30s upwards, but had his best performances. He retired, and I still remember this. The last day of the year, we played Camberwell, and we lost. And while we were sitting there together, Bill had a heart attack. Thought he had one, just severe chest pains, and ended up he retired. That was
Right.
it. That was his last game.
Did we see much of Bill over the years before he passed away?
No.
No.
I think for a whole lot of reasons. The club went through a lot of change, and I think we lost touch with a lot of our past players. And whether some of them kept together, I'm not sure. But no, we missed an opportunity there to keep them. Yeah.
The 1860 club is trying to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'd love to have had people. I mean, I'm thinking of other great all-rounders we've had, and Kevin Lowe is the most immediate one. We've got him coming back into the club, and he's actually playing and teaching young players as they enjoy their games together on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So that's a huge bonus for the club.
Absolutely.
And you're in that category too, but we've got you as umpire.
Richard, thank you very much for Bill. I'm sure this will generate a lot of conversation on our Facebook.
Yes.
People, some of the older members of the 1860 club were very young blokes and probably didn't play with Bill, but certainly would have heard all the stories. So it'd be great to hear from them.
Enough, Bill was his last year. Bill was made life member.
Yeah, right.
Which was
Nice
well
reward.
earned.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, fantastic.